All right. I guess we're good to go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to introduce our next guests for a number of reasons. One of those reasons is the fact that they hail from a city called Lima, which is the capital city of Peru, which I think for so many people around the world, for so many years, there's a lot of really bad misconceptions about the music of Peru, thanks in part to those guys in the ponchos that play the panpipes outside many tourist traps around the world. When in actual fact, Peru has got an incredible music culture that's existed. It's been for the last 4, 5, 6 decades. Really amazing stuff. So over the course of the next little while, we'll get to hear a little bit of this music. I think another reason why I'm really happy to introduce them to you all is, I think when you come from a city like Lima, and other Latin American cities or Asiatic states or African cities, a lot of people in this room, come from cities and countries where it's easy to feel a connection to the global music scene. But for a lot of people that live in some more far-flung exotic destinations, even with the internet, it's still, you feel a disconnection. And these guys somehow, over the last couple of years, managed to connect themselves nicely with the global music scene. So we'll find out a bit about that. And lastly, this is another one of those interesting situations where someone who was once sitting where you're sitting is now sitting here. Felipe was a participant at the Academy only about, 4 or 5 years ago?
6 years ago.
6 years ago, oh, that's right. Barcelona.
In Barcelona.
So ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Lima, Peru, please put your hands together for Rafael and Felipe from Dengue Dengue Dengue. So good to have you guys with us. And we were talking about it, so you guys played at UNIT the other night, and we were having a chat about the fact that this is the first time that you guys have been in Asia. You'd basically got half an hour's sleep after playing in Beijing, and you were playing in Tokyo. And we were saying that, for two young dudes making music in Lima, Peru, you don't ever think that this is a possibility, right?
Not at all, man. It's like far from, you can try to, maybe you can go to South America or around, but to Asia, it's like a dream,
Yeah, and all happened really fast, so we're kind of like...
Yeah, we're trying to cope with the experience now.
We'll listen to a track really soon, but musically you guys mix up the rich musical heritage of your country, obviously the Latin American rhythm of Kumbia, but with the beats and the bass of global electronic music. And but what underpins it is Kumbia. There's this, at the heart of it all is your interpretation and your evolution on Kumbia. And is it Kumbia has existed for more than a century, like coming on nearly a century and a half, 2 centuries. But in the last 10 years, Kumbia is a style of music that, it's been all around Latin America for so many years, but in the last 10 years has started to find itself around the world. And, that's the other thing. Did you ever think that you'd be in places like Beijing and people are dancing to Kumbia?
It's really crazy, I can find connections between that traditional music of maybe like scales between China and Peru. So maybe that's a little bit familiar, but again, it's not. I didn't expect it so good reaction of them.
What do you guys put it down to? When you're talking about a style of music that has existed in a continent for so long, but now all around the world, not just people enjoying Kumbia, but you've got producers from around the world, producers in Australia and Norway making Kumbia. It's become so global. What do you put down the recent global success of Kumbia to?
I think people are trying to explore rhythms all over now. They're looking for the next thing all the time. So I think Kumbia is just appealing because it's so easy to dance. So if you want to play in a club or in a gig like that, Kumbia is like a beat that everybody can just move their body to.
And you can make like a parallel between different music. Like you can mix it with dub really well because of the rhythm. You can really match it. So it's easy to mix, it's easy to dance. I think it's a perfect combo.
All right, I'm sure there's a lot of people in this audience that are familiar with the music of Kumbia, but there's maybe a few that don't know some Kumbia. So let's should we kick it off with something from you guys?
Okay.
Yeah, something off the recent EP or the album. Something that just showcases that great rhythm of Kumbia.
Okay, this is on Marcial our first album, Alianza Profana, that was out in 2012 in our label Auxiliar.
Comenos arcana, comenos arcana, comenos arcana, no pasa nada, no pasa nada. Ayahuasca tronco y Ayahuasca tronco y
Thank you very much.
And that track was called?
Don Marcial.
Right. Okay, I think, while we're kind of kicking off with, talking about the whole Kumbia side of things, I think it'd be cool to get a little bit of a history lesson on Kumbia. As we were talking about before, it's a style of music that's been around for a long, long time, and there's lots of myths and legends about how Kumbia began. But, your take on it, how did Kumbia come to find itself as a musical force in Latin America?
For us, well, it's been there all the time, every time you go into a bus or go to the market or whatever, you hear cumbia all the time, or salsa or this kind of tropical rhythms. But for us, it came this time, like it was this thing about the Peruvian cuisine going out to the world, So the local music became like a thing, in the like pop culture as well, and it started working that way, and we suddenly went to, but we didn't like really grab the feeling of this till we get to this festival in Argentina. We went with Rafa to this place in Mar del Plata, and we heard these guys from CISEC Records from Argentina, and we were to this party of CISEC, and it was amazing. We were like really amazed by this sound, but in a club, like with electronic music mixed all together, you know. So when we came back to Lima, we started DJing some tracks of them, and we suddenly just get together and just do some tracks and everything, and started producing as well. And when we came up with Dengue that way, you know.
Is it very much a case, when your parents are force-feeding you Kumbia, and your grandparents and their parents, like for so many centuries, it's just Kumbia. Every time you're at a wedding, it's Kumbia. Every time you're anywhere, it's Kumbia.
Everywhere, man.
And there's a Kumbia for all occasions.
Yeah.
Do you get to a point when you're a teenager and you're just like, no more Kumbia? Did you both get to the point where you were
it was like that.
Totally, it's a like love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Because anyway, most of the cumbia you hear in the radio is like not really good, you know. So to find the really good stuff, you have to really dig. And what is funny is that most of the diggers are not really people from Peru, it's people that came from Europe or from the US, and they found those tracks, and they released those tracks in other countries, and then that's the way, that's how we heard most of them, so which was like, came back, it cycled back to Lima.
This couple of albums called The Roots of Chicha. That was like very important for us. And we started digging that way because of these albums,
I tell you what, let's talk a bit about Chicha, because it's very, very important music for Peru. But before that, just to kind of get a little bit of a history of Kumbia. Kumbia is a style of music that it began really in Colombia, and the coastal regions of Colombia. Around about the kind of 40s and 50s, it found its way to Bogota, the capital, and then from there it started spreading to other cities, and then eventually found itself in Lima, I think in the early part of the 60s. But can we hear now, a kind of classic Colombian Kumbia track?
This is Sexteto Tabala, that is from like Palenque rhythm. It is like Afro-Colombian mixed.
And at this point in time, so what, this track's like, what, 1950s?
I think this is like a new recording, but the actual track is from the 50s.
Right. And so at this point in time, what are the building blocks of a Kumbia track? Like, what are, the ingredients that make a tune a Kumbia?
I think it wasn't called Kumbia at that time. It was called Porro, maybe. It's mostly only a drum track, with some voices on top, like chants, and that's it.
Let's have a listen.
that goes on and on and on, like 6 minutes, and it never ends. You know, it's like they just like record it, and suddenly they're like, okay, let's stop. And
Yeah, it's like a jam session.
yeah,
Yep.
And so that's from Colombia.
yeah, that's from Colombia, from Palenque, and it was like.
And that's, sorry, is that the name of it's a place, like a region?
Yeah, I think it's I don't like. I'm not. You know, well.
A musicologist.
Yeah,
on the history.
but I know it's from a region, and it was the African people that was living there, and that started doing this. You know, it was mostly African rhythms.
The word kumbe, which it comes from like a west, I think it's from like Guinea, or it's like a West African word, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the lyrics dealing? What's being sung about in those lyrics?
They are telling something about the queen of the gardens. So it's like something about like Mother Earth, I think. Yeah.
So the word you said before, chicha.
Yeah, but I just want to play another thing that is like after that, you know, and start to this accordion was inserted in the music, and this is more I think for the 60s, and it started like making the real sound of cumbia, you know.
I will never forget that story. I'm sure it's just a myth, but like the shipwrecked ship full of accordions that hit a rock, and all these accordions washed up on the shore.
Yeah, that's like the legend, you know.
Yeah.
So this is Ahorita Castillo y su conjunto with Chambacu.
What was that?
It was a Chambacu from Ahorita Castillo y su conjunto, and this is a cumbia track like from I was telling you like late 60s.
And so that right there, that's a great example of what is kind of very instantly recognizable as what globally people know as the cumbia rhythm. So I guess that's a good point to say, like what are the ingredients of that cumbia rhythm? What are the instruments there? What defines something as a cumbia track in that sense?
I think the most recognizable instrument is the huacharaca.
Yeah, like the güiro,
which makes the shaker, that's why everyone recognizes.
Yeah, and well, the percussion as well, like congas. And
in the case of Colombia, the accordion, is really important. But that's what varies a lot in South America. Like cumbia has gone like on most of the countries in South America, but each country has its own take on cumbia. Yeah. For example, in Peru, we don't use the accordion, we use the electric guitar. Right. And for example, in Argentina, they use synthesizers. Or in Mexico, they pitch down the music and slow it down really like a stoner way. It's like a...
yeah. That's called sonidero.
Yeah.
Someone from Buenos Aires once described to me this, like, what cumbia as a feeling was, the rhythm was, they've got really slow trains that go from the barrios, like the kind of more, the barrios, the slums, the favelas of Buenos Aires. that transport everyone to work. And they described that the tempo of Kumbia was the train, these old trains that are just like all run down, slowly moving, getting everyone to work. Obviously, you know, throughout Latin America, I'm sure that feeling changes. For you guys, what is the feeling of the Kumbia rhythm?
I don't know. It's like a party feeling. You know, it's just it just like marks the rhythm that you can dance to. You know, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just inside of us, I think.
And it has like a really, in the case of Peru, it has like a really strong psychedelic ingredient.
Yeah, as well. Mixed with like surf rock and psychedelic rock from the 60s. So this Colombian music was mixed with this, and that's how we came with psychedelic cumbia.
The Colombian beat came down to Peru by the jungle, and in those times, around the 60s and 70s, there was like a big oil.
Velasco?
Velasco, yeah.
Yeah.
So all the big companies came to the jungle, you know, and with those companies came people from the US and Europe, and they brought electric guitars and synthesizers and stuff.
You can find like old moogs stranded there in the jungle and stuff like that.
So that's how, you know, like...
Well, I think that's like one of the things I really wanted to focus on was this, you know, this really incredible music that's come from Peru, and especially in the 60s. And I think it's a good thing to kind of point out now. Like Peru is really interesting as a country because there's some really, you know, incredibly different terrains in Peru. Obviously, it's an Andean state, and you've got a completely different culture in the Andean side of Peru, and then you've got the Amazonian side. I think like 15% of Peru is the Amazon rainforest, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, let's talk a little bit about this. Like what are those different cultures that come, you know, the Amazon culture, Amazonian culture, and the Andean culture, and what did they? Because these guys were starting to come into Lima in the '60s and bring that in as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can hear a little bit, and we're gonna get more of the vibe. I think like the music from the jungle, it's more like psychedelic because there's a lot of.
It's mainly instrumental too.
Yeah,
and it's a happier.
Yeah,
It's
but
like a
you know
happier beat.
about the shamans in the jungle,
And ayahuasca.
the ayahuasca thing.
Mhm.
So I think it's more, you know, going into that way.
Let's talk a bit about that really soon, but hear this track now. So
Yeah, okay.
what is so this track's from the '60s?
Yeah, this track is called it's late 60s. It's called La Danza del Petrolero. That it's just about like petrol and. Yeah.
And just to give us an idea, what are the lyrics about?
There's no lyrics. It's just
Oh, just
instrumental.
instrumental, okay.
Yeah.
It has
Okay.
some little lyrics, but it just says the title of the track.
Yeah. Okay.
La danza del petrolero, del hombre rey del oro negro. Esta es la danza del petrolero, del hombre rey del oro negro. Esta es la danza del petrolero, del hombre rey del oro negro. Esta es la danza del petrolero, del hombre rey del oro negro.
Yes. So there he's saying like this is the dance of the petrol man, the king of the black gold.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like there was all of a sudden a massive influx of Americans and foreigners trying to get a piece of Peru's natural resources.
Yeah.
So interesting you said that. You know, with those guys, you know, American and British rock music came in as an influence. Guitars arrived, and it was being mixed up with cumbias to make what became known as chicha. At the same time, were locals listening to a lot of British and American music, or just appropriating the instruments into cumbia?
Yeah, probably yes. Mostly in Lima, I think, and the chicha became like a rhythm because there was this kind of cumbia from the Amazon, and it was mixed with rock and you know and some of the Andean influence that was all the people from the Andes were coming to Lima at that time. There was more money there, and it became a really centralized country from there on.
So Chicha essentially was one of, you know, it was this moment in time where a music genre that was very much Peru's, right? It was very much Peru's own style of music. It's named after a drink, like the Chicha drink has been. Tell us a bit about Chicha and you know historically what was Chicha the drink and what did Chicha music mean to Peruvians at the time?
Chicha comes from chicha de jora, which is a drink made of
corn brewed and like you keep it like I think 1 week until it ferments and you have the alcohol. Yeah.
It's really hardcore. Yeah.
What would happen to me if I drank a couple of bottles of chicha on a night out?
Bottles? Oh,
Bottles,
no.
wow.
No, you can. It's like usually it's served in a big glass like this with ice on top, and it seems like dirty water, you know, like it's like
it
brownish.
Translates to fire water, right? Is that what is the literal translation of chicha?
I think the chicha was the pot they used for the. Yeah.
How bad is my hangover going to be if I have?
That's terrible, man.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's really good, you know.
Okay.
It looks a little bit weird, but the taste is nice.
So you know, another thing that you mentioned before is with the Amazon and the psychedelic influence. Of course, you know, everyone knows someone who's, you know, at some kind of house party somewhere is plans to go to the Amazon to do an ayahuasca ceremony, or maybe in some cases knows someone that has actually done it. Ayahuasca is, you know, it must be noted that the ceremony comes from Peru, right? What kind of role does it play? Like, how is ayahuasca and shamanism and this side of things, how is it regarded in Peruvian society?
I mean, for a long time it was taken like something
Taboo.
like a taboo.
Right.
But lately, I think people are starting to rescue those ways of life, and I think now it's very much accepted. No,
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in this audience know what ayahuasca is, but there might be some that don't. Talk us through ayahuasca, the ceremony. What region in Peru does it originate from, and how is it regarded in popular culture?
Well, it's a root. It's a mixture of roots, no, from the jungle of Peru and Brazil,
And leaves as well. Yeah. Like
And
chacruna and ayahuasca. It's ayahuasca is a root and chacruna is a leaf from another plant that make the psychoactive like hits you. You know.
And people will, you know, go and do a ceremony in 3 days. They'll have a very spiritual and crazy experience.
Yeah, it's actually it depends a lot in which part of the jungle you are. For example, in Brazil, they take it really mild, and they drink it all the time. Like they don't stop drinking it, but just in a really mild mixture. And they dance in groups, and it's about doing it in a whole community thing. But in Peru, it's more like you take just like a little small glass, but really strong, and you have like a shaman which will just help you guide your trip. No, he's not like telling you what to do or how to experience. He will just take care of you, and if he feels like I don't know, you're not having a good time, he will just sing to you. He would just, I don't know, carry the thing with music, which is awesome. Yeah.
And so I guess, you know, how did this part of culture have an impact on the music at the time? You know, were a lot of these artists, these Chicha artists, going and doing, you know, seeing a shaman, going through this experience? And
it's different because in the Andes, that I think is more the influence of the Chicha. They do different stuff. It's another culture. And
right.
They use shamans as well, but they don't take psychoactives that much. It's more about spirituality and respect for the earthly gods, you know. But for the people of the jungle and psychedelic cumbia, I think it was very important.
How, you know, especially around this time, the 60s, but then moving forwards in the 70s and especially the 80s, you know, Lima became really, really overpopulated. I think it almost doubled in population from 3 million to about 6 million because all of a sudden, you know, a lot of people coming from the jungle, a lot of people coming from the Andean side of Peru. How were these different cultures respected in Lima? Like, how were they'd come to the big city?
Well, actually, when this thing changes from the 70s to the 80s and Chicha was born, the word Chicha was actually like a really bad word.
Like
you
a
know,
derogatory expression.
Exactly. You know, you could use it. You use it just something like, oh, there's a Chicha, like something really kitsch and bad. And those people were not really well taken in Lima. You know, they were all there, but people would just say, oh no, this is Chicha people. You know. We don't like them, no, and I think now it's changing a lot.
And well, it's a lot of classism and racism and like everywhere in the world, you know, and it's because of this centralism that the city have, you know. So Lima now is very big, but it's the same way as before, you know, and it's growing and growing every time. We have like maybe 14 million people now. And it's more than the half of the country entirely in the capital.
I mean, for you guys, you know, you mentioned before that, you know, you grew up with cumbias and all this, and almost in a way rejected it. You know, you had a moment at a party in Buenos Aires where you started hearing what other people were doing with cumbias, and then you started digging deep, and you've been digging deep back into the music of Peru. I mean, for you guys, what now that you've kind of been, you know, researching, finding all this music, what do you love about, you know, both cultures, the Amazonian side of Peruvian jungle that you've discovered yourself, and the Andean side, and what do you love? So what do you love about that, and what it brings to Peru, the culture of Peru on a whole?
Well, I love mostly like if you go to the jungle. The people is very happy, you know, and joyful, and they like to party a lot. And in the Andean side is like very quiet and respectful. So I think I like a little bit of everything. More the people of the coast is like more relaxed and chill out, you know. So
do you guys travel there regularly to both regions?
Like I used to travel a lot when I was a bit younger, and I had a lot of time, but now it's a little bit hard. But sometimes we go to play abroad, you know, from Lima.
But not very much actually. Like Peru is very centralized in Lima, so there's not really a place to have gigs, you know, around in other cities. That's really difficult, and that's something we really want to change. You know, with him and some other friends, we're trying to make some festivals outside Lima to help that change.
So the track that you played before, the Petrol Man, that's what would you say that's a good example of like the Andean influence, or was that more?
That was more about the Amazonian.
Okay, have we got something with more of an Andean influence?
Yeah, like we want to play Los Shapis, that is like kind of the creators of Chicha. So.
And he's quite a charismatic small man.
Yeah.
Chapulín.
Yeah.
Very special guy.
Tiny guy with the biggest personality in Peru.
Cervecita, licor amargo, eres culpable de mi desgracia. Cervecita, licor amargo, eres culpable de mi desgracia. Donde voy siempre te encuentro, quiero olvidarte, tú no me dejas. Donde voy siempre te encuentro, quiero olvidarte, tú no me dejas.
It's almost like that was a track by,
Los Shapis.
and they still performing today?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are performing a lot actually, and they play all over the country. Yeah.
So, you know, we've kind of like come from the 60s and through the 70s and the rise of Chicha.
Yeah, this is more like for late 70s or 80s, I think.
Which was kind of like a pretty interesting time for Peru. I think, globally, Peru was getting headlines for all the wrong reasons. There was a lot of terrorism, there was like an internal conflict. There was a group called the Shining Path, and it was, without getting too political, can you just give us an idea of like the landscape of Peru throughout the 80s and the impact that had on music?
I think it was like a class war between like the worker class and the upper class, but they got that wrong actually because they were like bombing everyone. I also got my house bombed, and like nobody died, and but it was terrible for us, a big loss, and so
this was a pretty everyday reality for people. Shopping, you go out shopping, just random houses. It wasn't like they were that organized.
Yeah, they were like saying, okay, this is high class people,
Yeah,
let's bomb them.
We had blackouts like almost every day, and almost all of the people that came to Lima, they came to Lima because of that. It was really difficult for them to be in the Andes for mainly, with all the terrorism that was going there.
Because they were like recruiting people from every
they
town.
would go from town to town to recruit people. So either you're with them or you die.
Yeah, and the army was the same, like was very hardcore because they were thinking like everyone was a terrorist, so they were like killing people for nothing, and so it was like a civil war,
And what kind of impact did that have on music? What happened to Peruvian music during this time?
I think
Nothing.
that's how maybe Chicha was created, because Chicha has this, like, before when the Kumbia Amazonica was like the thing, it was mainly instrumental. And then when Chicha came, the lyrics started coming, and they were mostly about suffering and very melancholic.
Yeah.
Because there was so much trouble around the country that they needed to express that in some way. So I think Chicha was really important for that.
Have you got an example of another track to play? That kind of marks this period.
Yeah, this is Grupo Celeste. It was like the first band of Chacalón. That is like one of the biggest names in Chicha. Okay, so.
Ahora soy solo un ave que triste busca su nido. Ahora soy solo un ave que triste busca su nido. Que triste busco mi nido y sin poderla encontrar. Que triste busco mi nido y sin poderla encontrar. Y le pregunto al destino qué pasó con mi camino. Le pregunto al destino qué pasó con mi camino, qué pasó con mi camino, que un día me marché dejando a mi esposa herida y a mis hijos sin amor. Ahora sé que el mundo gira y al dar las vueltas yo me perdí. Ahora sé que el mundo gira y al dar las ti.
Well, I think this song is definitely talking about love, but it also relates of what we were just talking, that it's saying that
He's
I'm like
lost.
a bird that I'm looking for a nest.
Yeah, and he's like lost in the way, you know.
So, you know, during this whole time, this kind of fairly, well, incredibly tumultuous social times, you know, you were both really young. When did things start to get easier in Lima? And then, you know, when, and I guess my next question is, when you guys finally got to the age where you were going out and experiencing the city and experiencing music, when did this start to happen?
I think it was like maybe during 96 or 97, you know, because before it was...
So we're talking like 16 years of intense civil unrest.
Yes. Yeah, but it's actually it's still a little bit dangerous, and it's like you can't take your equipment out in a backpack because you're probably gonna get robbed, you know. So you gotta take care of that. But now that with tourism and everything, it's coming pretty better.
Right. But for you guys, as you know, you're 16, you're 17 years old. You know, I don't know if you're using fake IDs to get into clubs or whatever back then, if you needed to or not. But yeah, paint us a picture of the Lima that you guys found as you were just starting to really get into music and.
Well, Lima has always been, I think, behind, you know, the whole music thing. When we were, I don't know, around 17 or 18, it was maybe the 90s, no?
Yeah.
And people were listening to music from the 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then when you're in like the, you know, all the music from the 90s what heard in the 2000s, and you're like 10 years of gap, you know.
But that gap is likely closing, you know.
So okay, so you're 16, 17 years old, and you're you know, you're on a dance floor dancing music. When you were that age, what were the big tracks?
Oh, mostly 80s music, I think. Maybe was 80s music playing all over the radio till now. You know, like music from the 80s. You have like only radios from music from the 80s, and that's it.
Right.
Stuff like that. But I used to listen to a lot of punk rock music and like Bad Religion and groups like from the States, and I think for me that was the
Yeah,
the
maybe
shit, you know?
the biggest influence in Peruvian music from outside, it comes from the US, I think. Yeah, and also Latin pop, no?
What was the moment you think for Lima where, you know, the first foundations of like an underground electronic music scene started to happen? You know, was there a pivotal club night? Was there a radio show? When would you say the first seeds were planted in Lima?
Well, the first time I went to an electronic party, it was like 96, I think. And there were like maybe 100 people. And there was a club called Blue Buddha. And they used to play a lot of like really tribal house and stuff like that. You know, and it went on, and now they have like a really strong electronic scene, mostly deep house and like that kind of stuff, more on the floor, you know. But there wasn't really like underground experimental scene. It was little, just a few people making music, you know.
And by this stage, you're 16, 17. You are listening to punk rock. Are you hating Kumbia at this stage? You're still in that hate phase of the relationship?
Not hating it, because I used to like Los Shapis, but my mom was telling me like, no, you don't hear that music, you know, that's bad. And I was like, but why? But then when I was into like punk rock, I was like a bit away from that, you know.
And so what was the moment for you both individually? Like, first of all, how long have you two known each other for?
Maybe in 8-9 years.
8 to 10
Right,
years.
right,
more
right.
than-
So individually, before you guys actually met each other, what was that moment for you where, as young dudes growing up in Lima, you're like, I want to contribute to music. I want to start making music. I want to start DJing. When did these sort of things start to happen?
Well, for me, since I was maybe 12, I started playing guitar and drums. So I had like 2 or 3 bands at the same time with some friends. We were all knew each other. We were making bands like, and but when I was like 16, I discovered when I bought a computer and I discovered Fruity Loops. So I started from there from '98 till now. Like making electronic music.
And for me, like I always wanted to make music and contribute, but I never really learned how to play an instrument. So when I discovered the computer around 2000, it really changed my life. To be able to make music with a computer and not have, maybe I didn't have the ability to compose, but I could just write the beats and and that was really like a change game for me.
And for the both of you, were you very much at that point? Did you feel connected to a scene? Was there a scene in Lima that you felt you were kind of contributing to, or you very much on your own behind your computer just making music?
It was a bit hard. I didn't thought I was going to like become a DJ or anything, but it just came along. I started DJing some tracks that I used to play. I used to make, and then I become a DJ and I'm like a part of an electronic scene. But I didn't think, to be like that.
Yeah, I felt actually a bit disconnected. It was like a big room house thing going on, so I just didn't feel it.
Yeah.
So you said 8-9 years ago you guys met for the first time. It must be noted at this point that Dengue 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 only started like 4 years ago.
4 years.
Yeah.
So I guess how did you guys meet? First impressions of each other, and yeah.
Well, because of this, that we didn't feel connected to the scene that was going on, we gathered together with him and other friends and create a collective. So we can start doing parties and trying to do our own thing. And that's how we met. We met through another friend, which is a producer, and we became friends like really fast.
He was making parties in this like really underground space, and we met there, and I started making some like techno parties, and he was doing like more like drum and bass parties, and then we got together and make that collective.
What was the name of the collective? And I guess what in the very early stages, once you, because it wasn't just you two, there's a whole lot of other like-minded individuals. What was it that you guys were trying to do, and what were you trying to create in Lima that didn't exist already?
Well, the collective is called Auxiliar, and yeah, we only had like, as I said, like big room house parties, so we wanted to bring other kind of beats to the city. And it was kind of difficult. In the party that we met, maybe we would run the party for 2 years and we had 20, 30 people showing up, so it was really easy to meet everyone there. So yeah, that's how we...
And I guess during this time, obviously, the internet is an established thing by this stage, but, in a city like Lima where, so many, for all of us, we take it so much for granted when you live in a New York or a London or any European city where you can see some of your favorite artists, all the time. I mean, I'm from a city called Auckland in New Zealand, so it was much less frequently that you get, big artists touring through. But in a city like Lima, is it difficult to create and maintain a scene, and get people to come to your city to perform?
Oh yeah, it's super difficult. We've been doing it for like 8 years, and we still struggle a lot with getting people to show up to a party unless it's some like really huge name. But when we started to do this tropical thing, it relates a lot to the people there. So that changed a lot. That was like really changed a lot. We have parties now with 1,000, 1,500 people showing, but we still do the other parties. We still do the drum and bass thing or the bass. Well, it's evolving, not really drum and bass now, but it's evolving. But we still do that. We do the tropical thing. We get the money from there, and that's the way we do the other thing. You know, because we need to push the scene.
And you know, pre Dengue Dengue Dengue, you both produce music under your own artist names, Zolkan Breaker.
Yes.
Okay.
Zolkan Break.
And Macumba.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about these the individuals. Who was Zolkan Breaker? What kind of thing did he do? Who was Macumba?
Zolkan was more like kind of experimental drum and bass, but very like melodic. I was very influenced at that time by maybe Aphex Twin or more music, you know, kind of. It was very mellow and like sentimental. So it's very different from now, you know.
Yeah,
Kumbia?
and for me, around 2000, I moved to London. So I was really, you know, like into the whole drum and bass stuff. So I was doing that with Macumba, and I also like a lot the IDM thing, you know, like Aphex Twin and those things. So we were really trying to do tracks like that. Yeah.
And then I guess, you know, you've known each other for already at this point for about 4 years, and all of a sudden you're like, well, why don't we just do it together? And Dengue 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 is born. Let's listen to a track right now, one of the, like, maybe something off the album or an earlier Dengue track.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is Cumbia Murders from the Alianza Profana album.
So that's Dengue
you.
Dengue Dengue, and that track is called...
It's Cumbia Murders.
Right. So one of the earliest tracks that you guys wrote together, or...
One of them, yes, and this was inspired in dub music, and it's called Cumbia because it's dub and cumbia.
So what brought on the project? You know, you'd already been friends for a long time, you'd been making music, but what was that moment when you're like, right, let's do this together, let's do this thing, and what was it that you wanted to achieve with this project?
Well, as Felipe said a while ago, we went with his project Zolkan Breaker, which I was helping him at that time doing actually visuals for the project, and
You were doing visuals?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we went to Argentina to play at the festival there, and in that festival we saw the CZ guys, Chanchavia Circuito and El Remolón, and we were like impressed on how they were doing this mixture between, you know, the cumbia traditional thing with club music, because before that we heard Señor Coconut, which he did this thing like several years before, but not in a club environment. So it was the first time that we saw it in a club environment, and we were like, wow, we need to do something like this, but with our own thing. So we went back to Lima, and in Lima it was just the time that he was looking for a place to live, and me too. So we found an apartment and said, well, let's move together. So we moved together, and since we were living together, it just makes sense to make a project.
It's kind of funny. I had, I guess, a very similar experience to you guys about 4 or 5 years ago. I was in Buenos Aires, and I was at a club called Sexteto, and it was being at the Zizek club night. And what blew me away was, Kumbia is not the fastest tempo in the world. But to see a room full of people just so completely vibing with such electricity to such a slow tempo, it was something really special. I mean, for you guys, describe that experience, that the first time you heard that, the music that they were doing, what they were doing differently with the tempo and the vibe of the crowd.
Yeah, that was something, like we were used to for at least me, like we were used to listen to drum and bass and jungle and really like high tempo stuff, and this was like, okay, this is going back to the roots, like about like with electronics as well, like it's more dubby, more like slow down, and as well as the cumbia, and cumbia in Argentina, it's slower than the cumbia in Peru as well. So it was really interesting, like, okay, so you can really have more space and put more stuff in there, and it's really cool.
Should we listen to something else?
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Should we watch something else? Because I think it must be noted that you started this project, but it wasn't just a musical project. You kind of, one of the great things about Dengue 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 is there is a very strong visual aesthetic to what you guys do as well, and it would be great to. Is this the live video or the?
No, this is the first
the music video.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What is the name of this track?
Simiolo.
Okay.
Okay. Now.
Did the shaman have to sing to you during the trip? Or did it end out all right?
Yeah, it's kind of a trippy
Yeah.
environment.
Look, one of the most amazing, I remember when I saw that video for the first time, and I've always feel really bad saying this thing because you feel like you're being so ridiculously patronizing when you say it. But seeing that video for the first time, it made you go, oh my God, wow, like this is what Peruvian artists are doing, because it was just like, the music was incredible, but the video, really incredible, great idea, really well executed, and it makes you go, oh wow, there's a scene, there's a thing happening in Peru, which is a bad, stupid way to think, but you know what I mean. It was really impressive, and I guess, you know, for you guys, how important was it from the get-go that the way you know, the video side of things, the way that you market yourselves through that, how important was it to make sure it was, you know, of a certain quality?
Well, it was for us. It was the most important thing, you know, to have a video and to have something to give away, you know, like to people for knowing you, and to have the idea of the visual aspect of the project. I think without the video, we could not make what we have achieved now.
So how important was that video for you as a business card?
Yeah, it was definitely maybe it's the most important thing we've ever done.
And the most
expensive
thing was, it wasn't that expensive, but it was, for us, it was very expensive.
But at the same time, you know, when you think about everything that's happened over the last kind of year, 2 years since that video's come out, and you know, when you think about festival fees and tour fees, would you say that investing in a video like that has been worth it for you guys?
Totally
worth it. Man.
We did it because of that. We were thinking that we needed to do that. It's our business card. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to ask what kind of budget you make a music video like that with?
I think that video was around $7,000. But I mean, with everybody was doing that for free. The director, the guy with the camera, we just spent $7,000 doing like for costumes and renting some stuff, but almost everyone was working for free there.
Whose concept was it? Like, do you guys come up with all the concepts, or you know, you've got a team of people around you that you know, help you with the visual side of things?
I think it was us and the director. You know, the director play a big role there. Actually, this video is like a stripped down version of another video that we wanted to do, but maybe it would cost like 30,000 or 40,000.
What was the original concept?
Yeah, it was a whole story, and almost all of the the characters in the video are the characters from the story. We just couldn't do the story, so we said, okay, let's just put them one after the other and try to make some sense of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess at this point in time, so you know, before this video came out, you know, it must be noted that you put out the album yourselves, right? So the first album, which that track was taken off, was put out by yourself. Yeah, what's happening at this point in time? Did you feel like it was easy? Was it easy putting out an album by yourselves?
I think never. You know, it's never easy. Well, at least in Lima, you know. But we had the label for quite a time at that point, but we were releasing only like a net label, free stuff, Soulcon Breaker albums and other stuff from other friends.
I mean, you said it was hard. I mean, just give us an idea of like what is the music industry like in Lima? Does a music industry actually exist? And what are the difficulties being an artist trying to release music in Lima?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. No, in no way we were thinking about getting in the radio or stuff like that. No, we just thinking we need to release the album. So luckily we had the collective, which made a platform for us to do the record. You know, I think that's the most important thing, is that we were doing the collective, which I think without it we wouldn't be able to release the video or the album or almost anything.
Yeah, you have to. You need a platform to present your stuff, you know, because the industry there is like only focused on
pop
culture and more like tropical pop music, and that's it, you know, no more. So rock artists as well, and every different kind of music have to make the platform of you know, themselves.
exactly what we were talking about at the very beginning when I introduced you guys. What I think is really incredible about your guys' story is this whole feeling of when you live in Lima, when you grow up in Peru, you feel so disconnected, and even with the internet now, of course everyone's more connected than ever before. But meeting someone face to face, sitting down, having a beer, doing all those kind of things still goes so much further, and you can still feel so disconnected. And there's a number of people in this audience who come from very far off countries and can feel disconnected. Putting that album out by yourselves, coming out with a great concept for a video, shooting and making a great video. What were the next steps that you guys took? Like how did you all of a sudden go from you got this great product, but all of a sudden you managed to get it out there and get a lot of people's attention?
Well, we started working with Booker, an agency that is from France, but they are based on Lima because they do a festival in the jungle, like once a year, and a few other stuff in the city. So that's very important for us. Started working with them so we can go and tour and everything, just because of that. And they are making all the connections for the festivals and everything. And without that, I think it would be almost impossible for us,
I think also the parties that we run in Lima played a big role there, because we started to make the party and it started to grow, and suddenly we were having emails from people from other parts of the world saying, "Hey, I want to play in your party," you know. So that meant that some people were checking it out, So I think.
So
Tell us a bit about we've got a video actually but I'd love to know a bit about your parties. How often do you do your parties? What can I expect at your party if I'm going there for the first time? What's the vibe like?
well, at first it was a bit small, maybe 300 or 400 people, and it suddenly
Which at that time felt like a lot.
It was a lot, And we started making that, and suddenly the next party was 500, and the next party was 800, and suddenly we said okay, we have to move to a big club. So the next party was 1,000, and started growing and growing. And I think the vibe there is really nice. Everyone was really not fights at all. Everyone was a lot of drinking going on, and.
And the great thing about this party is that it unites two scenes that were really far away before, the tropical scene and the electronic scene. Before we started to do this party with other people, I think most of the people that like electronic music were no, that's tropical music. I don't really want to do nothing with it. And the same thing from the other side. Yeah. And when we started doing this party, we could see all of those people together, that was maybe one of the greatest things about it. Yeah.
And now, as a byproduct of that, are there a number of other producers in Lima that have found themselves on the dance floor at your parties, been inspired, and now doing their own experimentations and bringing those two worlds together?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people doing the same thing at the same time, and it's very cool because each one have its own take on it, and it's very interesting to hear all that in the same party, because we work with these guys because it's not too much projects going on, maybe 5 or 6, and I think that's the main cool thing about the music of the parties,
And I guess, where does it fit into Lima today? Lima 2014, obviously you've given us a bit of a context for how Lima's been historically, but Lima right now, I mean, what's it like to be going out, to be making music in Lima?
Yeah, I think it's a great time to be there in Lima, no? It's the first time we have an actual scene that is ours, so that feeling, it's all over, the place. People, the crowd are feeling it, the producers are feeling it, so we just feel the creativity, in the air there. So, I mean, there's maybe, as Felipe said, maybe at the beginning there were just 5 or 6 producers going, but now there are lots of little kids trying to do it, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Should we watch the video? Is the video from Lima, the party video?
Yeah, this is a teaser that. No sé, ¿cuáles vamos a usar? Yes, this is like it's like a short video about the parties and the scene. Okay.
So that's the club night, right? Is that's filmed at it happens once every 2 months, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I think, I got to ask the question, the masks, they're very cool, and it's very much, anyone that knows a little bit about Dengue Dengue Dengue, the mask thing comes up, tell us about the masks, what do they represent, and how important has it been for you guys to have that, that look as well?
Well, since we've been working together for 8 years, we already had other projects going on. So for us, it was a way to make a difference between those projects and Dengue. So it was not Felipe or Rafael, it was just Dengue, because even most of our friends didn't know it was us at the beginning. We just put the mask and they were like, oh, who are those guys? Which was great. And another thing about using the masks, it was that we wanted to maybe represent in our own way the parties that were going on around Peru, the typical parties, So they were masked and they are very colorful. And I think for this project in particular, it was just made sense to be playful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do the masks, in terms of the colors, the designs in them, they've got connection to Peruvian historical culture?
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, the neon colors are used a lot in the Chicha movement, and they use like the big how do you say, like posters, and they are printed in 3 colors that are like pink, green, and yellow neon. Yeah. So that's like kind of a relation we made.
And I don't know that if you've actually any of the reasons behind it were along this line of thinking, but how important do you think it is in this day and age, especially with the way social media works, to have something a little bit different? It's anyone that's been to a Dengue concert performance will know that as soon as you guys jump on, you're getting far more Instagram shares than the dude in the t-shirt before you. Was that something you thought about, or just people love to?
Yeah, it's I don't know, that it's when you have a mask on, it's you become someone else, and people like it very much because you don't have this dude, like quiet dude, like mixing there, like you have like some crazy guy like going crazy there, and so I think that's that's cool for the audience,
Yeah, and as you said, it helped us make a difference between us, other projects that we also have, and also other projects from other people. So yeah.
I think we should hear something. We're going to throw it over to you guys very, very soon. We've got time for a few more things. Recently, just a few months back, you released an EP on Branco, who's actually here at RBMA, his label Inchifada. How did that come about, releasing that EP and linking with Joao?
Well, it was great. At the beginning, we heard this boiler room thing that they did with Buraka, which they introduced this soak-based thing, and we were like, "Wow, man, what's that?" So we wanted to have like our own take on that, mix it a little bit with Kumbia, because the tempos are quite similar. So we did a track called Locumba.
Yeah.
And just at that time, they asked us for a track for the series they have.
Yeah.
And we sent that track. They liked it. So from then on, it was we just felt comfortable with them. They are a great team. So yeah, we said, okay, let's release an EP with you guys. And
it's kind of interesting in this day and age. Anything that is rhythm-based music, rhythm-based club music that comes from South America, Africa, or the Caribbean. It's all there's this term, tropical bass or global bass. How do you guys feel about everything being sandwiched under the one umbrella term?
Yeah, it's. I mean, sometimes it applies well, but sometimes it's just I don't know. It's weird because I mean, sometimes we are doing some cumbia or souk thing, but sometimes we're just thinking about the techno side, or So I don't know. Maybe sometimes it doesn't really capture the whole thing, I think, but I don't know. There's no other way to describe it, I think. So we just need to use that. Yeah.
Felipe, the term. You don't mind it?
What?
Well,
Sorry?
just being everything, everyone being kind of put under tropical bass,
Yeah, but the thing is that now I think it's like we don't even doing cumbia anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like our take on like roots of music and like tropical music from at first from South America, but now we also like stuff from Africa, as you were talking. And like we're traveling a lot now, so we just have like to be influenced by everything we are listening to, or being in the street with different cultures, and maybe going to the market on Saturday and buying some weird vegetables or whatever, and like being influenced by that. I think it's like it changed a lot what our take on music.
I mean, in the last 6 months to a year. Musically, what have been the biggest kind of new inspirations that have come as a byproduct of traveling, would you say?
Yeah.
African music.
African music, I think,
yeah.
Because we just make this connection between the roots of South American music, and it was mixed a lot with African music because of the colonies that were there. They were bringing slaves from Africa at that time, and then the slaves that were like free, and with all this came like a lot of music from Senegal and different parts of Africa, really. And it's really interesting. In Lima, there was this huge movement during the 50s called Criollo music as well, that is influenced in African music, mixed with Spanish, that was the colonizers at that time, and yeah, and it's I just want to play a little bit of that because it's really something.
So Criollo, musica Criollo.
Criollo music.
So with this rhythm, which is based on like this wooden box, which you sit down in it and play like this, you know, called cajon, and also the donkey jaw, which has a really crunchy, crunchy sound.
It's like the bone of the jaw of the donkey that have the
A donkey jaw.
the teeth are still on, so when you hit it, they shake and make this like kind of sound.
So with that, we did this one.
Yeah, with a sample with of the same guy. It's called Arturo Zambo Cavero. It was the big thing on Criollo music.
Did I get it right? Did you sample this? This is one of yours.
Here it goes. It's not mastered, so it's
so that's forthcoming. There's something forthcoming from you guys. It's not been released yet. I think it's kind of. I'll stop it here and pass it over to any questions. I think it's kind of. What's interesting is like in one way for you guys going back to revisit old cumbias and music of Peru was in some way going full circle. But when you think back to the history of cumbia now, it's like you're going even more full circle.
yeah.
All right. And constantly exploring old rhythms, right?
Yes.
Instrumentation and percussions and
Also from electronics, if we start to like in another rhythm, we're gonna try to mash it up with something. It always works.
Has anyone got any questions?
Hi. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hi.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
I
you,
was
man.
wondering where you source your drums. Do you play a lot of live drums when you record tracks? Do you use a lot of samples? Do you?
Sometimes we use a machine, but it's really like programming, and I really like 808 sounds, and I have this huge bag of every drum kit you can imagine. So I just choose whatever goes better with the samples that I use.
I was thinking more about the samples though.
Oh, the sampling.
The breaks and the.
And we sometimes we use stuff from old Kumbia, for example, or these old recordings, and but sometimes I just use the rhythm, and I reproduce it in like an electronic way, but I take the timing and everything, from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. I'm from Italy, and right now there are quite a lot of producers that are making, stuff really inspired by Kindle rhythms, etc. What are your feelings about somebody appropriating of your culture?
Not at all, man. It's like,
I think we love it.
yeah, we love that. Yeah, it's like I don't feel like anyone is appropriating because it's a mixture of a lot of stuff. So it's not just ours; it comes from other places as well. And yeah, man, and I really like the clap clap. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Great.
it's what we like. I really like this kind of take.
We encourage people actually to do it.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad to hear that because I love clap clap, I love Populous, I love Niños do Brasil. I'm also making some kind of stuff
Cool,
like
man.
that. So better to know that I'm allowed to do so.
Cool,
Thank you.
man. That's amazing.
Oh, sorry. I was really curious about the longer story or the longer version of your video. I wonder if we could get like a little exclusive summary of the story.
Well, that's what we could make for a day of filming. You know, it wasn't too much material really. But we have another one.
The original story was, do you remember the guy that was playing the cowbell?
Yeah.
Okay, so he drive us to a party. He's kind of like a bodyguard for us.
Yeah.
And we get inside the party and we have no faces. And we are in the party and we, for example, we're trying to drink something and because we don't have a mouth, it just spills down or stuff like that. And then at some point, we have a bag. And from that bag, we pull a mask. And when we put that mask on, the whole place changes with the artwork of the mask. And we have like 3 different masks. And
It was
every
like
time,
5 at the first time.
and
you
every
know,
time
but-
we change it, the whole thing changed with us, you know. So imagine the budget for that.
Yeah, and it was like a big party. It was a lot of people, so it was really hard to get to that point, you know.
I think at someday we will do it. I think.
Yeah, we'll make like the complete version of it, like a short or something.
How would you see that?
Is that it? Rafael and Felipe, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Thanks
It
for
was
having
really
us.
nice to be here again.